I'm Gary Erickson.
And I'm Tyler Hogue.
We became best buds through the heavy music scene.
And now we're doing a podcast, breaking down our favorite bands, albums, and shows.
This is All Consuming Podcast. Welcome to the podcast. Today we are going to talk about metalcore.
That's right.
And the reason that metalcore is one of the best genres. But we're going to talk about Phinehas, the fire itself.
Yes.
So this is our discussion episode. We're only staying high level, talking about our general experience. And then we'll do the deep dive next, which will be deep.
That's right.
So yeah. So Tyler, when's the first time you, heard Phinehas?
Okay.
Liked Phinehas?
So I actually have a story for the first time I heard them, and it was a long time ago. This one guy, I call him a friend. His name's Gary. Oh, you. You text me. I was doing like this. I was going to the gym and running, and I was like, Gary, I need some new music or whatever or something. I text
What
you.
year is this?
This has to be, I think, like 2017. Right around there.
Okay.
And you text me two bands. You said you need to check out one, Wolves at the Gate. I think it was like Types and Shadows came out at some point before that. And then you said Dark Flag by Phinehas. Check it out. Two bands you need to be listening to right now.
And you said no to both and went running to Taylor Swift or something.
No, I put some of their stuff in my playlist. And Wolves at the Gate kind of stood out to me. I was like, oh, I like Asleep off of Shadows and Types and Shadows. I liked Relief off of the 5x5. I think I liked Dead Man. You know, all those ones that everyone likes from Wolves at the Gate.
Sure.
But Phinehas, dude, I didn't put one Phinehas song on my playlist.
You didn't put it on at all, or you
I
tried
listened to it. No. So I listened, and I was like, I don't get it. I was like, I just don't get
What'd
it.
you pick?
You know,
like the top songs or something, or
I clicked. I just went on that album, Dark Flag, and I kind of listened through it, and I was like, I just don't get it. Like I know that they're super popular. You talked about them a ton, right? And at that point, for some reason, it just wasn't clicking with me. And so, fast forward all the way until a few months ago, I still wasn't the biggest Phinehas fan.
Yeah. Makes me sad.
And so, it was it was kind of this joke between me and you. Anytime Phinehas was on and we were listening to it, I would always say, when did Phinehas get good? Because there were parts of the song I was like, man, this is awesome. And it would frustrate you. And you'd be like, dude, they've always been good, man. Give them a shot. And I mentioned it on our Discord just briefly. I was like, hey, I don't really get the Phinehas thing. I'm not a huge fan. And people destroyed me, dude.
Yes. Yep.
They literally were thinking hey, if you really don't like Phinehas, I don't even know if you can host a podcast on Christian heavy music. Right?
There's one or two guys that don't like metalcore that were like, yeah Tyler, way to stick up for your beliefs. But yeah, you were murdered.
And so you guys, and specifically I think Jordan from Unworthy made a playlist, and I said, okay, I am going to really give it a shot. Okay? And so
that was our playlist. That was I think 3 or 4 of us did it. It was like 10 Phinehas tracks you have to love. And and it's we just picked I went from I think mostly the fire itself, but I picked one track from every album at least. And I don't know what everyone else did, but
and I think that really was good because you do know what I like, right? I feel like you know the type of music that I listen to.
I was like, oh, this song, and I was like, but that's a Gary song. Tyler will like this song, and I did like it. My list was catered to what I thought you would like, not what I like.
And for you, truthfully, like whenever we listen to a new album, like I can ask you, what do you think my favorite song is, and you pretty much nail it. It's the heaviest song on the album.
Yeah, who's got the grossest breakdown?
It's usually that one.
And then I have to convince Tyler like there's this other song that's better actually, and then like over time,
it gets.
You're right, that is better.
Yes, and so I listened to these playlists, you know, and I actually gave it a shot, and I remember like, especially The Fire itself, the album, the songs from that album. Really, I started getting into it, and it clicked for me. Like I was like, oh my goodness, like this is like Attack of the Wolf King Haste the Day guitars, right? This is kind of like August Burns Red, like little pieces of that. And for some reason it clicked, and the song that really clicked for me was Dream Thief from The Fire itself. And I was driving to Fred Meyer grocery store here in in Washington State, and I remember the breakdown from Dream Thief came on, and it floored me. I was like, this is awesome. This is like one of the best breakdowns I've ever heard.
Yes.
And from that moment on, like I'm like, dude, I'm a Phinehas fan. And now like I can't stop listening to them.
Right on.
And I think this is kind of like bad. I don't know if it's bad.
Uh-oh. We're
like album of the year 2021, and I love Idle Threat.
Yeah.
And we're like if like EP of the year, you know, or sorry, album of the year, Idle Threat. I don't think I feel that way anymore. I think that's number 2, and I think The Fire itself is my favorite album that came out in 2021.
Well, I'm still sticking with Idle Threat.
Great album, but man, like this is close to The Fire itself is close to a perfect album for me.
Close.
It's close.
What's lacking? I already know it. Okay. It's the one slow song, isn't it?
No, and it's not bad. It's not even terrible. But like I just think there's some parts where it's
not bad,
not fully,
and it's not worse than bad.
No, I'm saying it's almost a perfect album. What is a perfect album to me? I don't know. Like maybe like We Will Overcome by Close Your Eyes or Breaker.
Can you listen to all of The Fire itself from beginning to end without skipping a song?
No. I'm really close.
Album of the year.
I'm really close,
but you gotta skip a song.
Yes, but I mean, okay, I have to do that for Idle Threat too.
Oh my gosh, it's like I don't even know you.
Okay, Gary, enough about me and my 2 months of Phinehas fandom.
Just a baby.
What about you? When was the first time you heard about Phinehas?
So I heard Phinehas a long time ago. I don't know. We were in college. I saw a music video with Ryan for I Am the Lion. When did that first? Yeah, The God Machine, 2011. Dang, 11 years ago. That's when I first heard them. But, yeah.
And were you hooked right away?
Well, I mean, they weren't like, immediate fall in love. There was like, on that album, there's probably like half of them that I really like.
Yeah.
And on the few that came out after, I don't think any of the albums are perfect, but a lot of their albums have like a slow song that I really, really like and a heavy song that I really, really like. So at least 2, probably more like 5 on each album. But and it's weird because I'll listen to the whole thing all the way through, and then someone's like, what's your favorite song on that album? I'm like, I don't know, like 3/4 of the way through, I feel like I really like something in here, and like I have to like find it and be like, oh, it's this one. But
yeah,
I wouldn't say I skipped them though. One thing I think they do really well, they're one of my favorite bands that makes acoustics of their own songs. Sure. Right, Wolves at the Gate does a great job at it too.
Awesome.
But yeah, I really like their acoustic work. They have like two acoustic EPs that are just amazing. But yeah, for Fire itself though, so my first time listening to this album, our
Yeah.
Discord did a listening party, and I don't know, maybe 12 people showed up.
You know who didn't show up?
You.
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're like, Gary, it's
Phineas. I was like, why are you guys so stoked about
it's
this?
9 o'clock at night. I'm going to bed. Like that. Midnight for the other people. A lot of East Coasters. I was surprised they stayed up that late. But yeah. So what we did is we had a bot played in one of our rooms, and so we all got to listen at the same time. And like every time a song started, it was just everyone reacting with gifs and gifs, whatever you want to call them.
GIFs.
You know,
it has to be
constantly.
GIFs. My wife says GIF, but dude, it's GIF.
Let's not start this. I agree with you
Okay.
though. GIF
Okay,
is
okay.
the answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really fun listening, and so it gave it a different feel. Obviously, when the singles came on, everyone knew the songs, and they're like, "Oh, this is a good one." And when the new ones came on and breakdowns happened, like everyone got to react together. It was pretty fun. We need to do more of those. But
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, the two that stuck out on the first listen, that were not the singles, because obviously they don't stick out when I've heard them 20
Right.
times. But Dream Thief and Thorns. I remember like when it was over,
Yeah.
I was like going to bed, telling everyone goodnight. Like, I know what I'm listening to tomorrow. I'm going to pay attention to these two
Yeah.
songs because I love them. And they're still really, really great.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
It's pretty cool, like, too, like, so now, like, obviously, like, the Fire itself, this is kind of different for me, but the Fire itself, like, got me into Phineas now. And I just posted on Discord today, like, why did nobody tell me that Flesh Killer was such an awesome jam? Like, I get the experience of now going back and hearing all these Phineas songs that I ignored for so long, and like hearing them for the first time with new ears.
And at least the band is still around, because usually when that happens with
They
you,
are.
the band's not around, and
Yes.
you're like,
It's like, no!
why did this have to come out so long ago?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you would have
You know,
listened to Gary, you would have enjoyed it.
Yeah, for me, it's similar to Impending Doom. I think it's so hard. Like I feel like my music taste like wasn't for some reason for Phineas. I don't even really know. I think it was the technicality of the guitars. Right, they're too good at guitar. Like Dan Gailey, like he shreds too hard. And so I just felt like it was so technical.
But you're like
and I
August
always
Burns
would
Red,
say
and
that.
they're so
I know. I don't get it. But like, that would be my reason. You'd say like, what is holding you back from Phineas?
Why
And I'm
won't
like,
you love it?
They're just too good for me. My brain can't comprehend it.
That's funny.
I don't know.
Matt Carter
And so,
kind of said
like-
the same thing on Labeled. He was like,
Really?
it's too technical. It's too smart. It's too fast.
Yeah, like and it's weird. I think maybe my musical taste has changed a little bit to where, you know, like back then, dude, when like 2011, 2013, even 2017, like I'm listening to For Today, Sleeping Giant, you know, hardcore breakdowns, that type of stuff. And that was like what I liked.
Yeah.
And I didn't really branch out. Even like Impending Doom, like I wasn't into the deathcore part either. It took me a while to get there and fully appreciate it, which is really sad because like Impending Doom's the same way. Like, how did I miss all this amazing music? And, you know, just jump in, you know, the last couple albums. And for Phineas, it's like I just jumped in for the Fire itself. Where have I been this whole time?
Yeah, and you know, to your defense, when I told you to check out Dark Flag, I think
Yeah.
it just dropped, and
It did,
that
yeah.
album got a lot of hate because
Yeah,
it was mixed a lot different, a lot more differently
Yeah.
than their
Yeah.
other stuff. And I mean, so when you listen to the album by itself, you probably don't notice anything. But if you throw it in a playlist with other albums, it kind of sounds old. And that was like their intention, was to like make it like classic Haste Today, old school stuff.
Yeah, metalcore.
Yeah,
Metalcore.
yeah, and you know,
Yeah.
I think it's a little more. I don't want to say simple, but I don't know. I think once you know like the intention and the art design and the choice for why they did it, I feel like you start to understand. You're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I hear this now. I feel this. Instead of like, here's the latest, greatest in metalcore, which I think is what they did with the Fire itself, right? Like modern, latest, fast,
Yeah.
technical, and Dark Flag was not that. And but the super cool part is they got Jimmy Ryan from Haste Today on a song, and that song's like
Yeah.
amazing. But yeah, I do feel bad when sometimes I'll like when an album first comes out, and I like text people like check this out, and then I listen to it and I realize this isn't as good as their previous one. I should have told them to check out their previous one before they get to this one. Like, you know, stuff like that. Like making suggestions is really like difficult for me because I'm like, what if they hate it? You know?
Right. Yeah, and I get that too, but like, you still like you listen to there's going to be something good off of it, right? Like there's Dark Flag, like you said, there it might not be as good as the Fire itself, in our opinion, but like looking back now, there's a lot of awesome songs off there. I don't know what even that shouldn't have turned me off.
Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah. Totally.
You know?
I don't know what's wrong with you, man. I don't know.
I don't know, you know, but I have my sins now have been forgiven. The sins of not liking Phinehas. I have come to conversion now.
You don't know. Like,
Phinehas
I was excited
fan.
when you were like, I thought you were messing with me when you were saying how good it was and like that you really liked it. And I was like, really though? Like, do you? But
dude, I can't even explain how it clicked. It's just like all of a sudden it all made sense. And now, like listening to it, like I said, like I hear a lot of August Burns Red. I hear a lot of Haste the Day, like metalcore, and the technicality doesn't bother me. I don't know why it did before. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like. So I also think it has a lot of Oh Sleeper feels to it. I think it's like
Absolutely.
that. I don't know. Early 2010s metalcore when metalcore is at the peak, but I think they pushed it. And something that I don't think gets enough credit is the drums. Like the drums on this album are nuts. And sometimes I'm like, there's no way a human is doing that. And maybe I'll look it up when we do the deep dive on some songs where it's like double bass pedals to quadruple bass pedals, back to double bass pedals. And I'm like, what is even happening? Like, it's really great.
One thing that's crazy too, it's just crazy, you know, and there obviously are two guitars recorded sometimes in some of the songs, but I mean, we're talking about a 4-piece.
Yep.
Right? We're talking about a 4-piece band with really one guitar player. And it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah, I know in studio, Sean did a lot of guitar work. But I know that they made this album not with the intention of how do we play this live. They were like, we'll make really good songs, then figure out how to play them live.
Yeah.
So and I really like that. I like the I'm gonna regret saying this later, I'm sure, but the production heavy, like quality first type of thing, like get the media to be amazing, then learn to play it live. Because the worst is like when you go to a show and you really like the band. You're like, dude, I never gave these guys a chance, and they are amazing. Then you go check out their album, and you're like, this is not the band that I just saw on that stage. You know?
Sure.
But at the same time, you don't want to make something really amazing, and people go, this is the greatest band. Let's go see them live, and be like, ugh, they're trash. Is terrible.
Yeah. Now, see, this is something like, I think for me now, there's a few bands that I'm like, I need to see them live. Okay? And I think right now Phinehas for me is the top. Like, this is who I need to see. And you know how many opportunities I've had to see them that I haven't gone and seen them for?
You know?
Like, it actually bothers me. Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's at least 3.
I know I tried to get you to go to a show, and you didn't go with me. I went by myself. Well, I took another friend, but...
And, like, I know that they might have even came to the Tri-City. I know they came to Hermiston which is like super weird, random, like which is like a half an hour from me.
I've never even heard of Hermiston.
Hermiston, Oregon. Oh yeah, dude, it's like right on
Huh.
the border. Yeah, they went to Hermiston. I saw that, and like, I didn't have any like desire to even like go. Or when you invited me, I'm like, yeah,
It was
I
a
don't
school
know.
night.
And like, yeah, it's a school night. I don't think I can do it. But like now, it's like, man, like it bothers me that I turn those down because like how they're the band that I want to see. They're my top band I want to see. You know, there's other ones obviously. Be sick to see Idle Threat or Bloodlines or
Mailing in
whoever
the
else.
Sons of
You know, but like,
Disaster. You know, My Children, My Bride Again. Close Your Eyes.
stop
The
listing
Showdown.
Furnace Fest
Oh.
bands, dude. So you've seen them live a few times.
Only once.
Once? Oh, I thought you went twice.
You're making me rethink, but I'm pretty sure I've only seen them once, and that's why I really wanted to go. It was like on a Tuesday night, but
Where was
a
it at?
small venue here called whatever it was called at the time, the Pin. This was like 2018,
Pin, yeah.
and they were headlining, but it wasn't. I think it was the Dark Flag tour, but it wasn't really the Dark Flag tour because they only played some songs on that, and they played a lot of their stuff. But Earth Groans opened for them. Another band opened for them.
So it's Phinehas, Earth Groans, and
Yeah, I can't
some
remember.
other smaller bands. That'd be pretty sweet. I definitely, like, looking back, like, definitely should have gone. I wish I would have gone. Because I haven't seen Earth Groans either, and that'd be
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
sweet.
Earth Groans put on a great show. Like, so like I went there kind of early. I think it started at 8 because there's only 3 bands, and so I hung out, and it was like empty. There's like 20 people there. For Earth Groans, for Phineas, there's probably 40. But so
Dang.
for Earth Groans though, you know, I'm like just sitting and leaning in the back up against the wall kind of thing, arms crossed, like I'm there to watch and judge, you know. I wasn't
Yes,
feeling the
just take it in.
shoving and stuff. And most people weren't shoving, right? They're just standing there. And he was like
Yeah.
really trying to get the crowd going. And like he like pointed at me and was like he's like, yeah, like come on,
Jeremy,
get in
the-
here. Everyone get close. Like get up here. Let's do this. And the next song starts and breakdown's about to happen. He's like, I want all you guys in the back. I'm like, all you guys? It's me and Bobby. Like, yeah.
So did
we
you guys
did.
move up?
Yeah, so much like stage pressure, you know, and like we didn't want to. But so yeah,
that's
we got
funny.
close, and there's probably like 3 or 4 dudes shoving each other. So tiny place.
Yeah.
In between sets, I went and talked to him because they just signed to Solid State. Earth Groans did, and we were
Right.
talking about his Rahab album, and he was talking about the next stuff that they're working on, and it's dropping soon. And I think he gave me a sticker for free, and I bought a CD, played it in the truck on the ride home, and yeah, I mean,
That's
great show, tons of energy, really friendly dude. But Phineas went up, and like I don't know, it's like people knew the headliner was up, and so like more people flowed into the bar. But it was pretty cool. His dad was the merch dude. Sean's dad, yeah. So
Sean's
I was
dad.
back there like talking to him,
Wow.
and like, what's it like going on tour? Like, he said it's so much fun. It's a blessing to see your son go up on stage and play, and all this. And I was like, man, that'd be really cool if like I could, my son gets in a band and goes on tour, and I'm like, I'm gonna just take a month off of work and travel the, you know, be their merch dude.
That's like actually super sick, like to think about, right? Because they got to have a good relationship, obviously, for that to happen. Number one, the dad showing he's supportive of his son, and
Yeah,
I mean,
but
that's
the
pretty
show
cool.
was great. Bobby had not really heard of them, kind of like you.
Yeah,
And I remember like after the show, Bobby was like, "What album should I buy?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, do they only have Dark Flag? Or what do they have?" And I went and looked. They have like every album. And I was like, "I don't know. That one's good. That one's good. That one's good." And he buys like 3 out of 4 of them, kind of thing. But Bobby
really?
really likes them now. I don't really remember the show that much. I remember mostly just watching Daniel play. and be like, man, one guitarist is making all of this. Like, yeah, and it was just nuts. Like, there's not even a rhythm guitarist. It was bass, Dan, Sean, like, you know, I don't know who was on drums at the time, but it was probably Isaiah. Yeah, and I was super impressed with the talent, and I was like surprised there's only 40 people here, and I'm like, man, this should be at the Knitting Factory. Like, this is high quality like live stuff. I do remember Hell Below went nuts. Like, people moved, and it was awesome. And there's a part, I don't know if it was that song or not, but his dad went up on the stage with a big pink inflatable like guitar, and like played along on the stage, and it was really goofy, But
that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Other than that, don't really have any other memories with it.
See, and I feel like now, like, if you just look at their streams on Spotify, I mean, The Fire itself has a few songs that have a decent amount of streams, right? Like, they've definitely had this album was very well received, I think, among a lot of people, a lot of crowds. And so, like, just looking at it right now, you've got, you know, over 1.3 million plays for Eternally Apart. You've over 1 million for In the Night, and you have a lot that are getting close to that. And so maybe they can, the next time they do go out and tour, if they do the Fire Itself tour, maybe they do get to a bigger venue, and I could not miss that one.
That'd be cool. What if they're that question mark at Furnace Fest?
Dude, I already... No. See, that would be cool. Like, that'd be awesome. But if I don't go to Furnace Fest, what's going to happen, that question mark's going to be something like Haste the Day reunion. Right? Something that, like, for today reunion. Whatever it is. Like, it's going to be, like, something, like, absolutely insane that, like, you only see once in your lifetime. You know? Yeah. Okay, so Fire Itself, Gary. If you were to pick 3 songs that you would, like, recommend to somebody, like a previous Tyler who was not anti-Phinehas but didn't really like Phinehas, what 3 songs would you choose from The Fire Itself to show them?
I would pick my favorite songs.
Okay, which are?
Holy Coward, because of those nutso guitar riffs and the great guitar solos. Eternally Apart, because it's like I think it's a really well-written song. It's got good singing, good screaming, lots of riffs. And then the heavy song, Dream Thief. That would be... Yeah, what would you pick for your... I am now a follower of Phinehas.
I would for
sure too.
100%, I would say Dream Thief, The Fire Itself, and then I have to decide between Thorns and Eternally Apart. Both I think are awesome. The only thing about Eternally Apart is, and I love that it's 5 minutes, but it's a 5-minute song, right? So if you're trying to convince somebody, those 5 minutes better be convincing.
That stuff never bothers me. When someone's like, check this out, I give it 30 seconds. Yeah,
30 seconds. And, like, okay, so you hear Eternally Apart, you're hooked for 30 seconds?
Tone. I really like how it starts with that acoustic guitar. It's like a heavy reverb.
Yeah,
it's like an
definitely different.
Acoustic. It's interesting. But and then how it transitions, like, 10 seconds into an electric with the same riff. Like, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is how you start an album. Like, I'm already, like, feeling this. Yeah, I'm hooked. But there are people out there who think acoustic doesn't belong in metalcore. I used to be one of them. And then there's also people that just, guitar riffs, and not riffs, right? Like technical chords. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's still a riff if it's picking a lot, but that's just not their style. and I think that's you. And I think if I said,
Right,
Tyler,
they're like
check out
me. They
Eternally
want-
Apart, you'd get 1 minute in and be like, what else you got?
Yes.
When do they start screaming?
Yes,
And I'm like,
exactly.
oh, that's like 1:50. Okay.
Where's the breakdowns? You know, where's the riffage? And it's true, you know. I think that's part of it. But now, like, listening to Eternally Apart, it's not my favorite song on the album, but it's one of my favorites. It's so good. Like, it's definitely a non-skip, right? And once it transitions into like the super awesomeness, like, and this is getting to the deep dive, but like when it transitions and the screaming does start and the heavy part of the song starts, it's so good. And it's just, it's a great song, right? Like the whole thing's great. It's interesting when we talk about heaviness because I've been absolutely destroyed on Instagram about heavy music.
I even said something before you posted it. Oh, okay.
No, it was
texted
after
you.
I posted it. Yes, and so, okay, we're all consuming podcast, all consuming heavy music. In our bio, it says like the heavy music scene, Christian heavy music scene, right? And like, what is heavy music? Okay, to some people, if you say heavy music, it's to them has to be Cannibal
They
Corpse.
mean
There's
the
no
heaviest.
other like
That's what they think heavy.
the absolute heaviest, right? So if you say Emery, or if you say A Day to Remember, or whatever else, you know, that has cleans
Ew.
also in it,
Clean.
like you're going to be destroyed. And so we posted this reel, or I posted this reel.
I was no part of I was no part of the Day to Remember post.
It's the office dinner party scene, and Jan is dancing to her assistant Hunter's music, right? So I took that scene and I put it to a Day to Remember song, and it has a groovy chorus that's like poppy, right? But they're like dancing and kind of vibing to us, like this is perfect. And then the breakdown happens, and everyone's like, this is awkward in the scene. It looks really awkward. And that was like the point behind it. It got heavy.
So
and everyone
I
was
will
like,
say
oh.
the music fits really good with that clip, right? Like it fits really good. Like it's the same rhythm, and people's reactions happen at really good times and stuff. But I think everyone's biggest issue is that big text at the top. You know, it's like, you know,
this says
you
heavy.
show your normie friends your heavy music or something, right?
When you're the only one at the
And
party
so
that likes heavy music.
I read that and I'm like, it's like one of the Day to Remember is like softest softest heavy.
No, it's
song.
not
like,
the softest song.
their first album where
Softest
they're like,
heavy song, sure.
we're not heavy. Right, common courtesy.
Yes, it is the first album where they kind of.
Everyone was like, "What are they doing? Where's the screaming? Where's?" And so Tyler did that, and I texted him. I was like, "And you picked that song?"
And you said that, and then in my mind, literally, I scoffed. I was like, "Whatever, Gary. No one's gonna think that.
Yeah,
this is perfect." And I posted it, and now it's gained
it's
traction.
It's like
there's over 100,000 plays.
Everyone's mad at Tyler for.
Yes. It's I'd say it's 50-50, Gary. There's definitely people that like it and comment and say, it's me. And there's there's 3,000 plus likes on it. But then there's for every like, there's a comment, it seems like, that says, you're such a poser. This isn't heavy music.
Oh my gosh, you guys, it's a reel. Why are you so hung up on this, you know?
Yo, and someone got even in an argument with Kingdom Core on that reel. It just got crazy. Maybe we just don't use A Day to Remember anymore for reels. That's the lesson we learn here.
I don't know if they're the
We've
problem.
done it twice now,
I think
Gary.
the problem is saying such a heavy song.
Heavy
it had all. I know, but it just.
I never said that.
I felt like it was going to be something so brutal, just pig squealing and all this, and it's like, oh.
But in my mind, heavy, it's just this broad
people,
term.
They're gonna be like,
but in other people's mind, it's
that
not.
song has screaming. That's too heavy. That's terrible. And to a lot of people like us, we're gonna be like, this isn't this is just tapping your toe in the heavy water.
This is pop.
That is not heavy, right? But yeah, I think to the
Yeah,
general
I
public,
made a comment.
yeah,
It's heavier.
It's heavier than your Taylor
Yeah.
Swift.
Heavier than Justin Bieber, not as heavy as Impending Doom. There's your spectrum right there.
And like this album, I think is technical. I think it's fast paced. Like the BPMs, like good luck finding like a old man dancing video to sync it to, because no one dances that fast. It's a very cohesive album,
Right.
sonically pleasing, lyrically good. I think it's refreshing for metalcore. I think metalcore has been getting pretty stale,
Absolutely,
and I feel like when this came out, it was like metalcore is still relevant. And
yes, I totally agree, and I think this is a really good thing too. Like, it's not just like you said. It's not about the heaviest song. It's about a complete album, right? And these songs are complete too. Like, when you think of Thorns, for example, okay, and we're gonna get into a deep dive too later. But like Thorns is a great example of the mix of both. I wouldn't say it's like the heaviest song ever, but it definitely has some heavy parts. But it's also just a complete song, and it's refreshing for sure. It's metalcore, and it's what we love. We love metalcore for that reason. It's not just the most brutal thing ever. It's there's going to be some cleans, but it's going to be awesome guitars, right? And I think Dan Gailey, like, is the epitome right now of like metalcore guitarist. He's awesome.
Yeah. This album's great at
dude.
like melodies with vocals and the electric guitar, and like they take their turns like sharing the space, and it's just really well done. And I get, to backpedal a little bit, I do get writing the one brutal heavy song, right? Because that's how you go to someone and say, hey, have you heard of Bloodlines? Check out this song featuring Brooke Reeves, and people go, oh my gosh, that's amazing,
right? Yeah,
I'm gonna listen to the rest of this EP now.
Yeah.
So I get it as a hook, as like a marketing thing, but I feel like a lot of fans are just like gatekeeping on that, right? That's not heavy. Let me show you what's heavy. And they send you a bunch of songs that you're never going to listen to, and makes you dislike every band that they mentioned, and
and gatekeepers, I think, are part of the reason, like, we always like are talking about or are wondering so what happened to metalcore, or what happened to rock, even, like, why how has it become such a back burner genre in the mainstream, if you think about it. And I think there's a lot of reasons why, but part of it is this gatekeeping idea. Like, there's not enough room for these other bands. Like, if you don't like when bands go soft, okay, or they change, they don't do exactly what you want, well, okay, but what about other people that do like that?
They're not allowed to enjoy
into the group.
Yeah.
Right. And I think about that too, like, okay, so Idle Threat's a good example, or Close Your Eyes, or A Day to Remember, right? All these bands that are like in between, I would say. They're definitely not like the heaviest, or Emery, but they are in the heavy. They dabble in heavy music in a sense. Like, there's some unclean vocals, there's some breakdowns, right? But other people aren't going to like that, right? And so in Phinehas right now, like, you think about Phinehas, it's not deathcore, right? It's metalcore. Like, we're talking about guitars that are super technical. We have clean singing, and there's a lot of parts that are just not super heavy. They're heavy. Does that mean that if people like Phinehas and metalcore, that they can't be a part of the heavy music scene? I don't know.
No, I don't
know.
Yeah,
and
it's different. I think you have a good point on like what happened, because everyone our age, I feel like, is like, I'm putting a blanket statement, everyone our age, but a lot of people our age are the metalcore type of people. We grew up in where metalcore was starting, and it was like a part of our childhood, and it's nostalgic, and it's awesome. It's the genre's been around for 20 years or so, and I think it's still going good. But yeah, you kind of get these people that they're probably going to be deleted, but the gatekeepers that say you can't like this band, that's not heavy, or they insult people or make fun of them for liking a band. Like, and those people are like, okay, now I'm not going to tell you any other bands I like, and they kind of become closet fans. And so because they're not part of a community and sharing what they like, you know, they move on to another community of a different kind of music that they get into. Because, I mean, let's face it, not everyone likes just one genre. So out of the rabbit hole of gatekeeping and elitism and that, back to Phinehas. I really hope that this episode and our deep dive helps convince people how good Phinehas is. Because I think this album is a perfect album. As in, no skippable songs, they're all enjoyable. I wouldn't say every song is a perfect song, but album overall, like, really good.
Sure.
And I think they deserve to have even more plays than what they have. Like, I think they should be way more popular. And so I'm hoping that we can regain that hype, especially if they go on tour or something real soon. I know they played the Silent Planet album release show in California, but I don't know if they've done anything since or what they're doing. But it'd be really cool to see more people get into them, and I hope we can convince some of our listeners to check out Phinehas and enjoy this album as much as we do, because it's good.
It's so good, dude. It's so good. And if, like, we talk about things that came out of the pandemic, like, the pandemic sucked, but, like, there was some good music, and this is a great example of amazing music that was written
and they were saying
and released during the pandemic.
Like, because of the pandemic, they didn't feel rushed. They, like, redid songs over and over until they got it exactly how they wanted, and they took their time. And I think it really shows, like, what they put out is some high quality, intentional music, and it's really good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so that wraps up our, I was about to say deep dive, but our discussion on Phinehas, the fire itself.
Yeah, and if you haven't yet, follow us on Instagram. Go check it out. We try to put out some awesome content for you guys, and also episode reminders, so make sure to go do that.
Yeah, and if you like what we're doing, support us on Patreon. Buy us a cup of coffee, whatever. Help us, encourage us financially to keep doing what we're doing. And join our Discord. We talked about it a couple times on this episode. It's a pretty fun community. We goof around a lot. There's a lot of verified bands on our server. There's Ninja Loot, Lazarus Complex, Nocturnal Servant, Blue Fire Horizon, Life Avenue, Symphony of Heaven, The Undertaking, and Unworthy. There's a few other bands and side projects of people in there that aren't verified, but they post stuff and promote things, and people share their game streaming, and we have some YouTube guys on there, like the Gentleman Show, the Riff Chicken. It's a fun community. We just goof off and share music we like and talk about things. And so if you're looking to be part of a metal community where we share our faith in Christ and want to talk about whatever, so that's it.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you for listening.